Oh gosh, I wonder what our old friend Martin Shkreli is up to these days. Every time this guy finds a way to temporarily extend his 15 minutes of infamy, it just makes me more and more want to punch him in the face. Oh look, there he is, clawing his way back into the headlines, and now he's literally soliciting money from strangers for a chance to punch him in the face. Oh good, congratulations Martin, you've really pushed the clock back yet again, and you'll continue to be relevant for at least a couple more days. And god damn it, despite the usual obnoxiousness of his stunts, this time it's actually kind of for a good cause, so shit. Okay, let's take a step back. You guys remember Martin Shkreli, right? He's certainly done his damnedest to make sure that you do. Well, if not, Martin Shkreli, he's the 33-year-old New York millionaire who almost exactly a year ago became infamous as the founder and CEO of Turing Pharmaceuticals and the face of most of what's wrong with the American pharmaceutical industry, when Turing raised the price of the toxoplasmosis drug Daraprim from $13.50 per pill to $750 per pill overnight, which, would have probably been in and out of the news cycle in no time if Shkreli hadn't decided to personally appear in various news interviews with various news outlets defending the price hike and seeming really unapologetic about the whole thing. Martin, you know the song, you know the lyrics, sing it with me. What did you do when shit hits the fan? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. But he didn't do it. So from there, Martin Shkreli seemed to fully embrace his newfound fame as a modern-day real-life supervillain, purchasing the single one-of-a-kind copy of the Wu-Tang Clan album Once Upon a Time in Shaolin in an online auction, and pretty much instantly making the Wu-Tang Clan realize that making a one-of-a-kind album for one person was a really stupid idea. He was then arrested by the FBI on charges of securities fraud for allegedly operating one of his previous companies like a Ponzi scheme, which is a case that's still in progress. And then he was subpoenaed to appear before Congress's House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform to answer questions about the Daraprim price hike, but he merely smirked and giggled and invoked the Fifth Amendment the entire time. And I know a bunch of you are already rubbing your Dorito-encrusted fingers on your keyboard, typing up comments about how Martin Shkreli actually isn't a bad guy, and you should watch the interview he did with Vice, or the interview he did with The Breakfast Club. And, he's only getting shit on for doing what tons of other people in the pharma industry do every day. And, he promised to give out Daraprim for free to anyone who couldn't afford it. And, don't act like you wouldn't do the same thing in his position, bro. And so on. And, there's varying degrees of validity to all of those, but bottom line, the thing about this guy that gets under my skin is just how much joy he seems to get out of being corporate America's biggest and most unapologetic troll. Anyway, ever since his FBI indictment, he hasn't really had much of a day job, being pushed out of his CEO positions at Turing Pharmaceuticals and Callo Bios Pharmaceuticals, though he still has loads of money from his investments in various companies, so he pretty much just hangs out on the internet all day, tweeting and playing League of Legends and casually live streaming his lonesome existence, trying his damnedest to stay relevant by jumping on board meme trends like Harambe. And his latest successful attempt to get back in the news is auctioning off a chance to punch him in the face. But it's for a good cause, guys. So last Sunday, Shkreli tweeted, RIP to my PR consultant, Mike Coolidge, who passed away last night. Mike got some of my best interviews that turned the tide of public opinion. Mike had no experience dealing with my kind of PR, but he insisted he could do a good job and did. He is survived by his son who has had cancer. He was always hustling and trying to provide for Dylan. I'll try and take care of him. Mike is survived by Tyler, not sure how I got Dylan, I'll miss him. So Shkreli later tweeted a link to a crowdfunding page that the deceased man's friends and family had set up on giveforward.com to raise money for the young boy's education and medical care. So setting aside not knowing what the kid's name actually is or the current status of whether or not the kid has cancer, a friend of Martin Shkreli's had passed away and Martin was concerned for the guy's son, who's actually been through a lot of shit for just being a 5-year-old kid. Shkreli's tweet no doubt brought a lot of attention to the crowdfunding page and helped raise money for the kid. I have to respect that. Martin Shkreli did a good deed. Bravo. Although, about 40 minutes later, Shkreli decided to spice things up as only he can by tweeting, I will auction one slap/punch in the face to benefit my friend Mike, who passed away and leaves behind a young son who survived cancer. DM bids. I'll match donation to a certain point. You may video the slap/punch. Mike architected my publicity stunts, and I bet he's watching, smiling. He then claimed to have received 2 bids of $78,000 and $25,500. Then he created an eBay page to make things more organized and official. And then that eBay page was shut down for violating terms of service. He then switched things up again by saying that he'd be assigning the punch via raffle to the people donating to the original Give Forward page, tweeting, "If you donate to this site, you are entered into a raffle to slap or punch me. The number of dollars you donate is the number of tickets you get." And then on Wednesday, Shkreli seemed to have found a winner in a Twitter user from Florida named Katie, who promised to donate $50,000. Though that Twitter account is now protected, so you can't see any of its tweets, and Shkreli hasn't posted any updates on the situation, and the Give Forward page hasn't had anything close to a $50,000 donation. So who the hell knows what's going on? This punch contest is a total confusing mess, and that's probably by design. I will be just downright surprised if anything even comes out of this, but you know, prove me wrong, Martin. Meanwhile, Martin Shkreli is supposedly worth around $100 million, so if he really cared all that much about his dead friend's kid, he could have pretty easily and quietly set up a nice little trust fund and barely seen a dent in his bank account. As it stands, aside from bringing attention to the crowdfunding page, it mostly looks like he's just exploiting someone's death for attention, which is really gross. But hey, here I am, giving Martin Shkreli attention. So you win again, Martin, god damn it! Moving on, remember how the Hillary Clinton campaign outed itself as total normies earlier this month when they posted an official blog post calling decade-old internet meme Pepe the Frog a racist symbol used by the alt-right? Of course you do, because it was fucking ridiculous. The Clinton campaign blog post and numerous other think pieces all stem from a Daily Beast article published in May that featured an interview with a pro-Trump Twitter user called Jared T. Swift, who explained that the white supremacist alt-right was all actively turning Pepe into an icon of their beliefs. Except, no one except for us seemed to have actually looked at the Jared T. Swift Twitter account and seen that it's very obviously a parody troll account. And they're still citing that fucking bullshit interview from the Daily Beast to this day. So yeah, that's apparently still the case, because the Anti-Defamation League, a prominent Jewish civil rights organization dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism, has added Pepe the Frog to their online database of hate symbols, right alongside swastikas and Aryan Nation prison tattoos. What's especially baffling about this is that it's clear that the ADL actually did some research into Pepe and his origins and still decided to classify him as a symbol of hate. Their database entry references Pepe's humble origins as a character in cartoonist Matt Fury's Boys Club comic strip. They reference the phenomenon of very specific and exclusive rare Pepes, and they even straight up say the vast majority of uses of Pepe the Frog have been and continue to be non-bigoted. So the minority of bad Pepes, the ones with the Nazi imagery from 4chan or wherever, which the ADL post has some pretty damning examples of, those have in the eyes of the ADL tainted all of the Pepes. Except no. So after explaining the existence of racist Pepes, the ADL writes, quote, "However, because so many Pepe the Frog memes are not bigoted in nature, it is important to examine the use of the meme only in context. The mere fact of posting a Pepe meme does not mean that someone is racist or white supremacist." Okay, so what you're saying is that Pepe isn't necessarily bad, just that sometimes Pepe features additional imagery that makes him bad. Imagery like Klansman hoods, SS uniforms, anti-Semitic Jewish caricatures, racial slurs. Ha! You know, it's almost as if those specific things are symbols of hate and not Pepe himself. Nah, that's just too much work. I shouldn't have to use basic common sense when evaluating whether a Pepe is bigoted or not. It's easier if I just assume they all are. So case closed. Dun dun. Anyway, so Pepe isn't even the only meme this week being mischaracterized as a symbol of bigotry. Over at Clemson University in South Carolina, there was a big fuss earlier this week when someone leaked an email to the media showing that resident advisors for at least one residence hall were banning images of Harambe from dorm rooms after an unspecified incident where someone found a Harambe picture on campus offensive, specifically racially biased and pro-rape. Which I guess is possible. Harambe, like Pepe, is an image that you can kind of just add whatever text or imagery to for whatever purpose you feel like. But instead of saying, like, I don't know, hey, maybe don't put offensive messages on your dorm room door, especially when they tarnish the legacy of the late, great Harambe, The response from Clemson was instead to just assume Harambe himself was offensive and ban his image from anywhere but inside of a student's dorm room. This is not what Harambe would have wanted. Screenshots from these emails were shared with campusreform.org, a conservative website devoted to exposing a perceived liberal bias on U.S. colleges' campuses. And like the ADL and Pepe, the story quickly spread all over social media, where it was roundly mocked. Only a day later, the story had gotten so big that Clemson University's housing office had to issue a written clarification reversing their stance on Harambe decorations and telling students to, just reach out to your RAs if you encounter any issues of concern. Okay, so the stupidest thing about all of this is that, like Harambe, the Harambe meme at this point was essentially dead. If there was anything offensive about putting a Harambe meme on your dorm room door, it's that the person's memes are outdated. And also that even the freshest of memes are always cringy as hell in real life when they're not on a computer screen. I want to see it in my computer, I want to see it in my phone, I do not want to see it in real life. There's a difference. Ugh. Anyway, guys, I got a few more stories for you this week, but first, I need to shout out this week's sponsor, who is yet again Blue Apron, a company that I'm seriously so happy to tell you about because up until I started ordering from Blue Apron a few months back, I knew barely anything about cooking. I was just a moron in the kitchen. It was this mystifying, kind of terrifying skill that I just figured I would never get around to learning. But after just a few months of getting weekly shipments from Blue Apron, I not only know my way around the kitchen a whole lot better, but I actually enjoy the hell out of it. So with Blue Apron, each week you get a box shipped to you that has all the ingredients you need for 3 great meals made from the best ingredients possible. And these ingredients come from local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the U.S. who use sustainable, humane practices. Over on their website, blueapron.com, you can actually see the farms where specific ingredients you're cooking with come from, which I think is pretty cool. Each shipment contains only the exact amount of ingredients that you need to cook your meals, so you're helping the earth too by not wasting any food. Each meal comes out to less than $10, and these meals are good. I just logged in and looked at some of the stuff I've got coming up in October, and they all look delicious. There's roasted pork steamed buns, with black garlic mayo and spicy cabbage slaw. There's spicy hoisin chicken and broccoli with garlic ginger rice. There's crispy catfish with yellow curry and bird's eye chili sauce, and loads more. They've also got damn good vegetarian options if you're into that. And, over the course of a year, every single recipe that you get is unique, so you're always cooking and eating something new. For Weekly Weird News viewers, they are offering your first 3 meals absolutely free, gratis, including shipping. If you go to blueapron.com/weekly, and I promise you, you will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. Again, that's blueapron.com/weekly. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Now back from the advertisement and back in the news, the summer 2016 Rio Olympics have come and gone, and I'm still surprised at how well the whole thing went, all things considered. In fact, it seems like the people who were most negatively affected by Rio 2016 were actually uptight Americans watching the games at home. The Verge recently submitted a Freedom of Information request to the Federal Communications Commission to see what kinds of complaints the FCC received from viewers during the Olympics, and there's some real Olympic gold in here. One viewer from Norman, Oklahoma wrote to the FCC, NBC's coverage of the Olympic opening ceremony displayed numerous examples of people's buttocks for the viewing pleasures of my children, 9 and 5. This seems highly inappropriate for a recorded program meant to be watched by a general audience. Then there was this viewer from Attleboro, Massachusetts, who wrote, in today's world and what's considered entertainment, it's very tough to enjoy wholesome programming as a family. From the heavily rotated sexual content on every program to overplayed erectile dysfunction commercials. It's tough to enjoy a program as a family without being uncomfortable. I thought the Olympic tryouts last night would provide us the opportunity as a family to enjoy something together. The track and field events are nothing short of minor pornography and should be rated R to NC-17. Clothing that is too tight, exposing male genitals, is not what I had in mind when sitting with my family last night. Something needs to be done. Less camera time and slow motion of these runners flip-flopping their way across the finish line. These athletes should be required to wear an athletic supporter, or precautions should be put in place by the broadcasting network to create a more comfortable, family-friendly program. In both cases here, I feel like they're protesting just a bit much. I suppose I can see being upset by the perfect human bodies of world-class athletes at their peak. It's very humbling. But writing a strongly worded letter to the FCC, who can't and won't actually do anything about it, mostly seems like a convenient excuse to describe in writing the slow motion flip-flopping of male genitals, and not feel guilty for doing so. So unless this person actually expected the FCC to read their message and then, promptly turn around and hit the abort button on the entire country's Olympic broadcast until every male Olympian could go and, make himself camera ready by duct taping his dick to his leg, maybe that's what they thought would happen. But it didn't. Moving on, October is not even here, but creepy clowns have been causing mischief all over the country for the past month. And, we've reported on that in previous episodes of this show. They've been allegedly lurking in wooded areas trying to lure children away with promises of candy and money. It's not clear if any of this is serious attempts at kidnapping children or just a prank, bro. But the creepy clown phenomenon continues to spread, and you got clowns in multiple states now taking to social media to try to creep out kids via Facebook. Which, whatever, haha, spooky. But apparently some of these anonymous clowns have decided to kick things up a notch by just straight up threatening to shoot up schools, which, crosses the line from vague public nuisance into terroristic threats. And it gets law enforcement a little more motivated to do something. It also scares the shit out of parents and kids, wouldn't you know? So in Atmore, Alabama, a high school and a middle school were placed on lockdown after some clown threats, as were 3 high schools in Mobile, Alabama, which led to the arrest of one 16-year-old dumbass who didn't realize that the police know how to use computers. Whoops. However, there's plenty more clowns out there still trying to scare people online, enough so that a sheriff in Kentucky has enlisted the help of Homeland Security and the FBI in his investigation. Oh, and meanwhile, the clowns continue to clown around in real life too. Though one clown in Middlesboro, Kentucky finally found himself in handcuffs this week when he was spotted walking around a wooded area waiting for people to scare and was caught by police. Though, since he hadn't actually jumped out and scared anyone, the crime he was charged with was a really specific local law that prohibits wearing masks in public. And he also had a bunch of outstanding warrants for failing to pay fines and failing to appear in court, so that's fun. And you know what? With the mask off, he's not looking so scary anymore. Kind of just looks like a kid. Not scary. Anyway, no headlines this week. I kind of need Ricky around to react to those, and right now he's off reacting to the beauty and majesty of Paris, France. And no, I'm not jealous. But I am saving up a bunch of good ones for when he gets back. I promise it's gonna be a headline spectacular next week. All headlines. Not all headlines, but a lot of headlines. So anyway, check out some of our other recent videos. We got one about Elon Musk's very ambitious plans about how humans are gonna colonize Mars. We got a real doozy of a story about the founder of Oculus VR secretly funding a pro-Donald Trump meme organization. And in our most recent podcast, we brought on our friend Clark Wolf, and we talked about all of our favorite spooky, scary Halloween movies. See you later. Boo.